Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you got plenty of rest last night. I hope that you have your expectation of what God's going to do for you today um, is high, and that you are looking for Him in the places of your life. And so, as we continue in First Peter, um, we're just gonna keep going through the book. And so today I want to talk to you about. So yesterday we ended up with, you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for His possession, so that you may proclaim the praises, the one who called you out of darkness into His marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now that you are God's people, you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. So as we ended there yesterday, and now we're getting into verse 11. So what does this look like? So as we become a royal priesthood, what does this look like as we move forward from here? And it says, "Dear friends, I urge you as strangers and temporary residents to abstain from fleshly desires that war against you. Conduct yourselves honorably among the Gentiles, so that in a case where they speak against you as those who do what is evil, they will, by observing your good works, glorify God on the day of visitation." So as we begin to look at this, as we become this royal priesthood, he reminds us that we are strangers and temporary residents, because we have joined another kingdom, and so we are temporary residents of where we are right now, this earthly kingdom. So then he asks, and he says, "So abstain from the desires of the flesh that war against you." And each of us, in our own journey, understand what that war is that's battling in us. For some people, it's addiction. I mean, it's sin. It's everything that we that's warring within us. So you know that. So I urge you, maybe today, as you think about that, to write those things down. That is your battle zone, if you will, where you're struggling and what seems to always crop up, right? So it says, first of all, conduct yourselves honorably among the Gentiles. So you know that he's writing to Jews being persecuted, and he's writing to the Gentiles. So how do we translate that for us today? It's like, as believers and followers of Jesus, how do we conduct ourselves honorably in a world in which we live, in a fallen world? How do we conduct ourselves honorably? And the reason we do that is so that when accusation comes, that they will be able to see how we responded, and God gets the glory on that day. I like how he says the day of visitation. So if you study that out, you know that could be the day of our death, the day of whatever is when people are just observing you and visiting you. Not, and it doesn't seem like it's in a good way, right? It's like, so how we still need to act honorably, so that even if it's not, they're looking, and it's not hearing our words, but they're seeing our actions, is what he's saying. And then so then that's the way it begins to look like. And then I'm going to read this next section, and this is a hard section, but as we apply this to our everyday life, how is this going to work? It says, "Submit to every human authority because of the Lord, whether to the emperor as a supreme authority, or to governors as those sent out by him to punish those who do what is evil and to praise those who do what is good. For it is God's will that you silence the ignorance of the foolish people by doing good. As God's slaves, live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a way to conceal evil. Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, and honor the emperor." So really, as he says this, it says when we are this royal priesthood, this chosen race, a holy nation, where he's called us, people who have been called out of darkness into marvelous light, to be his people, a people of his possessions, we're temporary residents, we're strangers. We conduct ourselves with honor, and then it says, and this looks out, submit to the authorities that the Lord has put in. I mean, we believe the other parts of the scripture, God puts in the authorities and this and that, and I know there's questions, but what if the authorities are going out of they're not doing this, they're not really punishing those who do evil and praising those who do good. I think Peter's telling them, we do our best to live in peace. We let God work through us in response to our situations, and be obedient to what He's called us to do. And it's not easy, and I'm not saying that this is an easy thing, but I love verse 16. So we put ourselves in that position with God. I would say, as God's slaves, live as free people. We have the freedom to submit. We have the freedom to do this. We have the freedom to be good examples. We have the freedom to be temporary residents. We have this freedom. Why? Because it's the freedom in the Spirit that God's given us. It's what He is working in us. So we are not bound by the same thing. So, and He's going to go on. He's going to talk about slaves and masters, and husbands and wives, and how we respond has a huge effect on all this. And so I'm just urging you guys today to just dig in your word and walk the path that He's called us to walk. And I totally also understand that sometimes we're called to walk differently, and not differently like for God or not for God, but even in our relationship with God, He's called us, He's given us different giftings, He's given us different things, so we walk differently. But we do have a responsibility in the way we respond to the situations. We are called to do good works. In other words, we are called to live by faith, by action, and the good works that we do have huge it's not that we're saved by works, we're not, but we respond in works, in love, in grace, in mercy, and submission, and all these other things. We need to have the attitude of, this is who we are, this is what we get to do, because humanly I don't want to do any of these things, but man, with God has changed the desires of my heart. He's made me a new creation, and now I am wanting to run and walk with Him, and this is what it means, this is what it looks like. So it just kind of reminds me of that thing, to walk in love, and faith, hope remain, but the greatest of these is love, as the scripture says. So guys, I hope you have a great day, and I hope that you just walk in freedom today that the Lord has given you. And I love you to pieces. Tomorrow, Opportunity Cast at 1 o'clock. I love you guys, love you to pieces, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.